Okay, if we're good, we'll get going very quickly with this even match briefing with the team from Australia. On the top table, we have scrum coach Neil Hatley and two of the starting players tomorrow, Tate McDermott and Nick Frost. I'll go straight to questions. We are using the interpretation system today. You have translation in French, English and Portuguese. So if you don't mind waiting for the microphone and also giving your name when invited. First question. Here, please.
Hi there, Nathan Williamson, rugby.com.au. Just to start with Nick, I guess what's been the mentality of this squad going and heading into this game after you've had two pretty emotional defeats?
We've spoken a lot about that. Obviously, you did touch on they are emotional defeats, but it's parking that, moving on. We spoke a lot about what we want to do as a forward pack, how we want to finish the tournament as well, what we want to get done out there, and obviously respecting the opposition. So we're really looking forward to obviously getting that last opportunity to put our best foot forward. That's probably the best thing for us. We're really taking that this week. We've been a few great sessions, we really ripped in, and really looking forward to it tomorrow.
As the sort of past couple of weeks, been saying, training's been, at a high standard. I think a couple of players after the game said, that last week was one of the better training weeks. How do you go about turning that into performances on the field against a Portuguese side that's going to be really sort of hungry for that result?
Yeah, well, I know we have spoken about that too, and we've spoken around. That's probably the last thing that does change is the scoreboard. It is a process. You've got to earn obviously the results, and it does take time. And we've got to keep fronting up, and obviously you've got to put your best foot forward for training. And then there's things we do review, obviously look at when you don't get the results. But the best thing we can do is prepare the best we can for the game. And obviously Portugal, they've gone well this year. Obviously the first getting in for the World Cup. So we're really looking forward to that. And again, like it's our last one here, so we're going out with a bang.
Over here, please.
Julian Lennon from the Daily Telegraph. Maybe one for Tate. Just want to get your overall thoughts about what it's been like to come to the World Cup. It's a massive event. Your kind of careers are judged about it. Has it been bigger? Has it been better? With notwithstanding the results and everything, just the whole scope and scale of it. What have you made of the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've watched a couple of Rugby World Cups, and they're fantastic events. The showpiece of our game, and this one's been no different. The way that the French have gotten around the rugby, and every stadium's filled, regardless of who's playing. So like you said before, it's been a bit of a tough campaign for us and for our fans back home, and it's not where we want to be. But the Rugby World Cup's been fantastic. It's been a great experience off field only. Yeah.
Follow up there and then here. Here and then here.
So just the 4-year wait that for the next one, that must be agony. How long? I'd imagine you want to get started tomorrow on 2027 at home. So just the idea of having to wait so long for 4 years for the next one. How do you feel about that? And then maybe for anyone else, do you think the gap between Rugby World Cups is too long? Cricket World Cups are played like every 2 years. You have a 2-year gap between Olympics and Commonwealth Games. I mean, it comes around so seldom in your career. Would you like to see it more often? Is there room for it? We're trying to talk about the things about how the calendar should be changed. Is they're going to introduce a Nations Cup? Would a second Rugby World Cup be a good thing or a bad thing? A lot in that.
I'll start with your first question. We get an opportunity to go again on Sunday. So in terms of the 4-year cycle, it's a chance for this group to go again. Whilst it's not the position we want to be in, it's the reality of this team at the moment. And I've got no idea about your second question, to be honest. I'll throw that to someone else.
Yeah, I think I think probably 4 years is about right. It's something special, and something that you build up to. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of planning that goes into it. I think probably the 4 year cycle is probably about right. It needs to remain the pinnacle of our sport and something that is very special. So, yeah, I'd probably say that the 4 years is right.
White, please.
Tate, was it hard taking the field today, knowing that your destiny might play out in the next couple of hours with Fiji taking the field?
No, I'd say that the hardest thing was just after that Wales game, knowing that we took our tournament out of our hands, basically. So I think we've done well this week. It's a massive test of our resilience, because we've got to live with the result that happened against Wales. But at the same time, we've got to keep moving forward. So we'll all watch the game tonight. But yeah, we've got a job to do on Sunday.
And so where might you watch it? Back at the team hotel? And would this kind of a match evening like tonight, would that be completely different to most evenings on a match eve, whether it be Super or internationals?
I think we'll keep it pretty consistent. We'll do our jersey presentation and then sit there as a team and watch the game. And celebrate the last. There's obviously a slim chance that things might go our way. So we'll celebrate those moments together.
Here in white, and then in front row, please.
Pierre spoke the other day about his plans beyond the World Cup. I think most assistants aren't contracted beyond this tournament. What are your plans? Are you done with Australian rugby? Would you like to stay on? There's all the talk about a rebuild job. Would you like to be a part of that beyond this tournament?
Yeah, I'd love to be a part of that. I've enjoyed these 5-6 months immensely. The boys have been brilliant. I know it's a young group, but yeah, I couldn't be more excited about staying on. I need to make sure that all the focus is on tomorrow and get this game, put out the best performance we can, and then I'll look beyond that. To be perfectly honest, I'm not too worried beyond that. I'll have a look at that Monday, Tuesday, what's going on from there then. But this is the priority.
Hi, I'm Mel Woods from AAP. I've got two questions. The first one for you, Neil. Would you say that, not to take away from the props that have come in, but really that maybe the Wallabies campaign, what sort of blow was it, I guess, to lose Will Skelton and Taniela after that first game? Do you feel like it kind of really, was it a huge blow in terms of your tournament?
Look, I think the thing about these tournaments and why you have squads is the depth you create, and that's one of the big challenges for us going forward. Is we've got to make sure that we create depth in every position, not just your tight five. I think Skelts has won basically everything there is to win in Europe. He's been a phenomenal choice as captain. I think even before Taniela and Skelts was Ala Latoa. He's a huge part of this group, not just as a player, but as a person, as a human being. So, yeah, you feel those losses, but they are, without sounding like a soundbite, it's a great opportunity for Zane. Zane's 22 years old. This is his first real start in Super Rugby because Taniela obviously ruptured his Achilles. So this is part of the process that Tate talked about, making sure that as a nation, Australia continues to build depth in these crucial positions.
I guess my point, I suppose, is Eddie kind of said a few times that, Australia wanted to play off the biggest pack that they've ever had at a World Cup. And then that sort of, was taken away. So did that sort of, I guess, change the way that you really wanted to approach games?
Yeah, it does a little bit. I think when you bank on having players like that, when when you lose them, you do have to adjust. There's a certain way. There's about 290 kgs, in two positions there. So not just being big men, they're big men who add a lot of experience, add a lot of rugby nous. So yeah, it was a big blow losing both of those, but like I said, that hasn't been the deciding factor. As a team, we needed to be better. As a coaching group, we needed to be better. And Eddie's talked about that rebuild. Part of that is making sure that as a side that we create that depth in those positions.
And finally, for me, I guess for you, Nick, did you watch the All Blacks last night? Maybe with envy, the fact that they've really been able to put it together, at the right time. And is that maybe indicative of where the teams are at? Like, they've got obviously a lot of experience, and it wasn't that long ago that you got within a couple of points of beating them, and you see the way the diff teams have performed here.
I watched bits of the game, but obviously it is the All Blacks. They have a great record at World Cups, obviously, and hit record in general. So they're always going to perform. But again, like you touched on, we did come close. That was a defeat that really hurt us. But we used a bit of that as well. How we played in that first half, particularly things we did and how in control we were in the game for a bit of a structure going forward. And it was just the really frustrating thing for us is we couldn't replicate that consistency. We'd put 20-minute periods together, 10 minutes here and there, but it was us for not being able to go, as I said, consistently long enough, and that's where we really fell down in some areas, which was frustrating because we know the heights we can get to, but it's just putting that all together. But as you touched on, it does hurt looking at that, but as I said, whatever's happened, but we're all putting our energy and effort into tomorrow's game. We're really looking forward to that one.
Neil, Eddie yesterday was saying that he takes full responsibility should things not pan out the way you want them to over. If they don't pan out the way you want them to over the next few days, and he's the fall guy, how much do you think he's had enough support from everyone within the setup? And do you think he's kind of fair to take that load on himself, or do you think that's kind of rhetoric maybe, or what level of responsibility is on Eddie, and where else should it be spread?
Oh, I think that's always on the head coach, isn't it? That's part of the game. I heard him, what he said, that he's responsible, but everyone's responsible. There's leaders within the team, so the rest of the coaching staff are responsible alongside Eddie. It's never just one man in a squad this size. I think that's Eddie being Eddie. He's immensely passionate and proud about coaching Australia. It's very close to his heart. So, he's gutted about what's happened, and he's got a real desire to sort of, to fix this moving forward. So we've all, there's all responsibility for all of us, not just for one man.
RNS, please, in the middle.
Neil, a lot of people were sort of talking up Italy's chances last night before the game, but obviously it was a huge gap. Is that indicative of a huge gap at the top of world rugby at the moment? And how does a team like Australia close that?
I don't know if there's, that game did blow out. If you look what Kieran Crowley's done, I think Kieran Crowley's done a brilliant job with Italy. Over the last 2 or 3 seasons, they've been hard to beat in the Six Nations, and have done well in some of the autumn games. So, yeah, I was really surprised at how that blew out. I think the All Blacks on their day, you look at the side they put out, Whitelock 150th game, Barrett 100 game, so the experience. They're pretty close, the cycle that they're in there's a lot of experience in that side, and they're one of those teams, if they get on a roll, they can properly pump you. So yeah, I don't think anyone saw that coming, and that's more probably a statement of respect to what Italy have done. But I suppose in these games, that can happen where it can blow out. I think those, if you look at Samoa, Japan, Fiji, these sort of sides are doing, a lot of their players are playing in Europe, playing in France, playing in England, so I think that gap is getting smaller. If you looked at some of the scores, maybe from 95, 91, 99, they're definitely getting, that gap is closing. I think the players are getting better.
And Tate and Nick, if Fiji do the job this afternoon and it's confirmed that you're heading home, will you watch the rest of the World Cup from wherever you go on holiday? Is it something you're interested in, or will it be too painful?
I don't know. It's a tough one. Obviously, it is. If whatever happens, and we are out. Maybe not. It depends. We are obviously we love rugby. It's our job. That's why we play. And it's still the pinnacle of your sport. You probably would watch it, but then again, there is a part of you that goes, "Geez, how disappointing you feel inside for your efforts. What could have been, things like that. Just it will be a tough watching, but again, you are a supporter of the sport because that's why you play. That's obviously your lifestyle, and that's at the end of the day, that's your job.
Third row, please.
Hats, I'll ask you this question because I don't think Nick will want to talk about himself. In an otherwise disappointing campaign, there have been some shining lights, and I think Fruit, as they call him, has been one for a 23-year-old lock on the world stage. You know, against Fiji, he was massive in the line-out. Just interested to get your thoughts on his growth as a young guy playing in his first World Cup.
Yeah, you know, I've been really impressed with him, and not just saying that. He'd probably talk about himself a bit. You might be surprised at the first bit you said, but no, I think from a, it's a tough job calling lineouts, and I think what he's done is he started to understand how the lineout actually fits into the way the team want to play. So not just the best option, but the best option that we can play off. So, as a young man, I think he's always been an exceptional line-out forward, and I think he's learning to call the line-out better. But for me, it's the bits around the pitch that he's doing. He's become, a little bit more than just a very good line-out forward. He's starting to show a lot more physicality in attack, a lot more phicality in his carries. I thought he was one of our best forwards carrying the ball in both the Fiji and the Wales game in terms of getting us over the line. So we know I've seen him run in wide spaces, he's got good foot speed, but I think what's impressed me about what he's done over the last 6-8 weeks is more those tight collision carries where he's getting better there. And like you said, as a young man, the world's his oyster. He continues to work hard in those areas. What he does at the line out, allied with everything else, is going to make him a very good test player.
This will have to be the final question in the front row, please.
Neil, there's been a bit of external stories and noise around Eddie in the last week or so. First part of the question is, have you noticed any shift in his attitude or distraction at all? The other one is, chat around the unique coaching setup of this group, and you're very experienced. You would have been in a lot of groups, but probably not one with a couple of AFL and NRL people in it. How do you kind of feel you guys went as a unit overall?
I'm always amazed by the questions about Ed. I've been fortunate enough to work with him for a long time, and I see no change in the way that this man operates. He's desperate to win. He's desperate for his players to do well. He's desperate for his teams to connect and make their country proud. So I haven't seen, if anything, it's gone the other way. He's ramped up. We get closer to bigger games. He ramps up. So, on him, I can't speak highly enough of how he's conducted himself and how he drives the coaching staff for a start, and then the team and the players and the whole support staff. He's constantly demanding the very best that you can be, not just for yourself, but for the players, because that's what the players deserve. We talked earlier about 4-year cycle. Someone like Slips, this is his 4th World Cup. So from a coaching staff, we're desperate to do well for James Slipper because he's 130 games, 130 plus games for Tate, for Fruit, for all the players. That's what drives the coaching staff, is we want to be our best to make their experience the best. In terms of the AFL and the NFL, look, Sean Ed is a rugby league coach when he came out, and started with Wales, Wasps, and then Wales. I think with Rathy and Craigie, they have different functions. They're not on pitch coaching. They, in terms of helping the coaches develop their coaching experts. So they're here to help. Eddie is a sounding board, me sounding board for me. So they're not necessarily them, or they're not coaching on the pitch. I've got lots of experience. Pierre Broncon's coached, in Europe, in England, and in France. He's coached team to top 14 final. So there's good experience there. Quite clearly, we haven't done the job that we wanted to do or that we needed to do. So that's something that we need to go away and Eddie and I'm sure and the RA will go away and look at. But that's their decision. We've got to just do the best we can at this moment in time.
Thank you very much. That was the last question. Look forward to seeing you here tomorrow.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Marty, mate.